Welcome back to Core Chemistry OMG, and today we're going to talk about particles and rates. So to get us started, what happens to a particle during or in a reaction? So you need to know this. For a reaction to occur, reactant particles must collide to form new products. So you have reactants on the one side and products on the other side. A collision with low energy won't cause a reaction, but the particles will still be colliding. The minimum amount of energy for a collision to be successful is called activation energy. The more successful collisions there are, the faster the rate of reaction. So if I had just these particles here, I've got 3 particles. Now these particles will be bumping into each other, colliding into each other. But if it's at low energy, they don't have much energy, then they won't react. It's only when they collide with enough energy does a reaction take place. Okay, so do not get confused because particles are constantly colliding and we want to form a new product. Okay, how do we measure rate? What ways can we look at measuring rate? Okay, there's 3 main ways to measure rate. Measure the volume of gas given off over time, so the volume of gas. Measure the loss of mass, or it could be an increase in mass, okay? And then the amount of light that passes through a reactant mixture, okay? This can be done by looking or by using a light sensor. So volume of gas, we tend to use a measuring cylinder to collect it. However, a more accurate way would be to use a gas syringe. Measure the loss of mass, we use a mass balance. So you put it on there and you measure how much weight is lost or gained over time. And measuring the amount of light. Normally we do this by looking. We did that with the one where you look over it and you look to see when the cross disappears. But you could use a light sensor, that's more accurate because you're not relying on the human eye. Units for measuring rate, so grams per second, grams per minute, centimetres cubed per second, centimetres cubed per minute. Okay, so rate tends to be written something formed per minute. So how do we speed up rate? So there are 4 main ways to speed up rate. I'm going to do a whole other video on catalyst because that's like a little bit different. So how do we speed up rate? We can increase the temperature. So by increasing the temperature, the reactant particles move quicker because they have more kinetic energy. So there's more kinetic energy. If you've got more kinetic energy, you're going to collide more frequently. That will lead to more successful collisions, which will then lead to more reactions. Okay, the particles have more activation energy. Okay, or more particles, sorry, have activation energy. Increasing the concentration or pressure, more reactant particles in the same volume, greater chance of collisions. So say this is my low concentration and this is my high concentration here. They are in the same area, okay, the same volume. However, I've got more particles in my high concentration, so there's more chance of collisions, more chance of successful collisions, increasing the rate. Okay, surface area then. Surface area is nice and easy if you think about like a Barocca or a dissolvable aspirin trying to react with water. So there's not much space for them to react here. Okay, they will dissolve eventually, but not much space. Now, if I broke my Barocca up into like a powder and I had loads of it, then there's way more space for my water particles to collide. So there's way more area for the particles to collide. So there's a greater chance of collisions, more successful collisions, increased rate. So exactly the same kind of thing. Now pause the video, have a go at the questions. If you get the answers right, then that's perfect. So what are particles constantly doing? They are constantly colliding. What is activation energy? A really important definition. The minimum amount of energy required for a reaction to take place. Okay. 3 main ways to measure rate. Gas given off, mass loss, and colour change. What are the units for rate? So it's like grams per second or centimetres cubed per minute. Okay, like that. How can we speed up rate? So we talked about 3 ways: increasing the temperature, increasing the concentration, and increasing the surface area. Explain how increasing the rate. So more particles increased kinetic energy, which means more chance of collisions. So that means more successful collisions, which leads to increased rate because they're reacting quicker. So if you got them all right and you're feeling pretty confident, then you can go on to the next video. If you're not, go back and watch it again. Keep watching it until you're getting all these questions right, because this is your core knowledge, the stuff that you really need to know.